do anything. It ain't got to be all rigid or stiff or anything. You
No,
can
no,
hold
no.
and relax it.
That's all good.
Whatever. But so you gave me a keen observation in terms of how society looks at men and the roles that people play, man. So you were just describing to me the reactions that you get from men when you're with your kids, and you describe yourself as a very nurturing father. Can you kind of run back through that for me, if you don't mind?
Yeah, no worries.
Go for it.
I think I grew up in an era where the role of the dad was supposed to be the provider.
Okay.
And the role of the mom was to stay home, take care of the kids, and then dad would come home, make sure there's food on the table, mortgage, rent, whatever is taken care of. And to me, that's not the way it's supposed to be, because you are in this together. A child is supposed to be able to feel loved and nurtured by both parents. And I think a lot of times that's why you see kids will run to their mom when something's going on. People are like, oh, it's a mama's voice. No, because you as a father hasn't taken that opportunity to bond with that child and realize that being a father is more than just putting food on the table. Because think about single moms. They do it.
Yeah, they do.
They at home, they go to work, they help with the homework, they make sure that child's taken care of emotionally, they take the kids to the ball game, they do all those things. So as a father, you're missing out on an opportunity to be more than just a breadwinner. You have the opportunity from day one to be a nurturer for that child, for that child to know, I am loved by my dad. I am in a safe space with my dad. So I always took that opportunity, and I still do to this day, every chance I get to make sure my kids know that I am more than just a breadwinner in the house. I am someone that provides that safe haven. I'm someone that you can talk to about anything. This is a safe space, Mental health starts from an early age, man, and you don't realize that they're sucking all this in. I have a daughter. I want my daughter to realize that, men aren't supposed to do X, Y, and Z. There's so much more to us than just saying, okay, well, I go to work, I protect my family. No, man, you got to be able to open up. And I think for so long, society has said to men that you're supposed to be closed down. You're supposed to be the strong person. You are not supposed to show any emotion because, like I've told you before, I grew up in an emotionless family, man, that changing diapers, my father would have never done that in a million years. Even my wife, when I asked her about her father, never would happen. Never would happen. And so a lot of men are always blown away by the fact that my wife, I remember one point when Connor, who's now 18, was maybe 6 months old. And my wife had to go to Asia for a month, Josh. And you would have been shocked at people like, oh my gosh, what are you going to do? How are you going to take care of him? It's my son. How you mean, how am I going to take care of him? I took care of him, still take care of him. And just those little things, that bond between my kids and me will never be broken. And no one can ever break that bond just because they know that I've been there from day one, being more than just a financial provider.
Let me ask this. So when people make comments like that, when they see that you're what I'm going to call an active parent, you know what I mean? A complete whole parent where I'm not just giving you one aspect, and that's just provision. And they make those kind of comments. I think they mean well.
I think they do.
But how does that come across to you? Is it offensive?
It's not offensive. I'm always in shock more so than anything else. Because I'm just doing what a dad is supposed to do. I don't think I go above and, well, sometimes I do think I go above and beyond. But for the most part, I'm just thinking in my head, this is what a father's supposed to be doing, So when you're like, oh my gosh, your wife left town and you're home by the kids by yourself. And, It's always shocking, but I've also seen the flip side of it where I remember I took my kids when they're younger to one of those jumpy places.
Yeah.
And some of them talking, and there are a couple moms there. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's so cute to see a dad out, with his kids. Because it was in the middle of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, where's your wife? I was like, well, she's working. And Josh, I got the dirtiest looks like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he allows his wife to work. Like I'm this bad guy. Like, oh my gosh, I'm forcing my wife to work while I'm out here hanging out. So I think a lot of people still live in that leave it to beaver mentality. Even though it's 2023, they still live in that world, Like, if I'm a woman, my job should be like, well, I could work at my church's pre-K or something like that, but not a real office role. Mm-hmm. But I think slowly that's going to change, especially with this new generation that's coming up and realizing I don't need to rely on someone to take care of me. Mm-hmm. I really do think it's going to slowly change, but it's always so strange to me when people tell me that, like, oh my gosh, you're such a great dad. Because I'm doing what a dad's supposed to do makes me great? No, that doesn't make me a great dad. Being a great dad is setting that foundation for my kids so that when they go out into the world, they can even improve on everything I've given them. That's why I tell my kids, you guys need to take what I have done, what I've shown you, and take it up another notch. And when you have your kids, have them take it up another notch. We don't just stop here. I tell them that seriously, Josh, every week they get that speech from me. Take it up another notch. Do better than I have ever done with you guys. Because I make mistakes. So learn from my mistakes and take it up another notch.
I love that. And like I said, man, you are just dropping some nuggets of wisdom right now that I absolutely love. And, you and I I feel like we always have great conversations, man. And I
most definitely
appreciate you sharing this. And let me just make a side note. If you need to use profanity, you can. It's not PG. So express yourself however you feel comfortable. You have an expression that I heard. I'm trying to think. I think it was Connor. He said it, and I've heard you say it, and I thought it was so powerful because kids, usually they watch and they observe, but there are some foundational things that you can put into your kids that, when they regurgitate that and they spit it out, you feel good about, hey, them understanding these certain values. And so you have an expression, and I want you to tell me where it came from, about love. What's your expression about love?
An expression on love. Gosh, I don't know, man. I have
people.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I believe that you love people, you don't love things, because anything material can be replaced. And I firmly believe that. And I think society now, we are starting to love things, and we have lost that ability to love people. It's also because we live in a world of upgrade. And when I say that, nothing is good enough. Mm-hmm. If you have a house, sooner or later, one person's going to be like, oh, we could get a bigger house. I got a car. I could get 2 cars. We're never satisfied and look at what we have, and we don't live and appreciate what we have, but we're always looking to, and I realize this because I see it in a lot of people I know, impress a bunch of people who we don't even know, who don't even care about us, Josh. They don't put food on our table. They're not there when we're sick. But we, for some reason, as a society, feel the need to impress these people who could give 2 shits about us. So I never understood that. And that's why I always say love people, man. Don't love things, because things can be replaced. I can't replace my loved ones. I never can. and I never want to.
So how has that, how was it, getting that or imparting that lesson into your kids, that principle, that philosophy? Because, like you said, kids, of course, always gonna, want more, and we live in a world where everything's materialistic. How'd you get your kids to, appreciate what they have? Because, like I said, I heard your oldest son, echo that phrase in a conversation, and I feel like it probably had to take some work to be able to do. I look at it like, hey, I tip my hat to you. I'm like, okay.
Because, okay, that whole love people don't love things, that was told, I'm 58 years old, Josh. That was told to me 48 years ago, and it lived with me from the first time I heard it, and I believed it, and I really tried to live my life like that. So the minute they were younger, my three kids, 18, going to be 16, and going to be 13, say I love something, I stop them immediately, and I've done it from the time they can understand what I'm saying. I've always done it. I say to my wife, like, she will say, I love this. I like this purse. Because anybody who knows me, don't say I love things. I will stop you. And I don't say it meanly. I just remind you, love people, don't love things. Because material things can and will be replaced eventually.
I think that's a phenomenal expression. Share with me, if you can, some of the joys of being a parent, man. How has it?
Oh my gosh!
Impacted you? How's it changed you, man? Has it made you a better person?
100%. Believe it or not, before my kids, I would honestly say my wife would probably repeat it a million times. I was probably the most narcissistic person you'd ever meet.
Really?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Life was about me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Don't get me wrong. I love my wife. Want to make sure she's taken care of. Blah, blah, blah. Make sure we have the nice things. The minute I always remember when Connor was born, my life changed 100% to the fact I'm like, this is no longer about me. It
was like an instantaneous change.
Instant, man. The minute that little boy held my finger, I always remember we were in the hospital and they brought him out to me and he grabbed my finger. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm responsible for another person, And I'm just like, I have to do the best job I can now to make sure he's not like me because I want him better than me. I've always said I want my kids to be better than me, man, always. And something within me changed when I realized I'm responsible for a human life, that this can't be about me. And, I need to have the fanciest clothes and whatever else. No. I don't need to impress anybody. I just need to make sure that this little boy knows that he's loved, and show him love. Because I grew up in a world where that wasn't what men did, My father, like I've said before, his way of showing love was to provide. And I understand, and, therapists will say, well, your parents are doing the best job they can at that given time. And I understand that, but people have a brain, to use it, so I don't buy into that philosophy. Because then I could just say, well, my father did it this way, and this is the way it should be done, and stop right there. No, I decided that I need to be better than I knew what I missed from my father. And it still lives with me to this day. So I want to make sure my kids never, ever have that feeling that I had. Am I loved? Because for the longest time, Josh, I used to ask myself, am I loved? Am I loved? Do my parents love me? Well, they buy me things. That ain't love, man. That's not love.
So, I want to ask two questions.
Yeah.
One, you said that's not love. Tell me what love is for you. And then, Secondly, I want to touch on something you said about they did their best. It was
Yeah.
they that statement because I asked that to a lot of parents.
Yeah.
A lot of fathers that have sat in this chair and had this conversation over the last few weeks, and not many have the perspective that you have on it, and so I want to touch on that a little bit too.
All right. Well, for me, love is that unconditional feeling that I will do just about anything for this person within reason. You know, like I said, making sure that someone is taken care of emotionally, that also spiritually, because I think a lot of times, man, we have taken God out of our lives.
Okay.
I really do believe that. And I think my faith, and don't get me wrong, I'm not the most pious person in the world. I wouldn't even go down that road. But I do think you have to have some type of spiritual foundation. I don't care whether you're Christian, Muslim, whatever, that helps, you know, because your faith will show you what unconditional love really looks like.
Okay.
And our job as parents is to show our kids what unconditional love looks like, you know? So to me, that helps.
Okay.
And it's not about being a provider also means providing spiritually, mentally, you know? And I think we take a lot of the mental out of our lives and we just look at the financial aspects of, well, you know, my son has the nice car, he has the nice clothes, but how is he doing in his head, man? You know, how's he doing upstairs? Have you ever checked? Do you do check-ins? I do check-ins with my kids to make sure, how are you guys doing? And you cannot tell me good. Good is not an answer in my house. Don't tell me good.
This is great, man. This is great. I'm loving this because you're the first to say that you do check-ins like this.
Yep.
I ask parents, do they check in with their kids to, and you lead me right into this. I ask them, do they check in, right? Because you go to work, if you're in any kind of leadership position, like, you know, the people under you, in a lot of cases, are able to give you some feedback, hopefully without feeling like there's going to be consequences giving you that feedback. But there's always a check-in. Hey, how am I doing with this? You know, is there something I'm missing as a leader, as a supervisor, manager, or whatever? You know, am I missing something? And we'll do that with employees and the people that we work for, but we won't check in with the people that are in our house, the people that we actually love, the people that we care about, the people that mean the most to us, the people that we say mean the most to us, you know. And so it's refreshing to hear you say that I check in, because I think when you check in, I think you lessen the excuse of, well, I did my best.
You're right.
Because when you're checking in with someone, of course, as the children are very young, they're not going to be able to articulate exactly what they need. And so some of that's your observation. Okay, I think they need this, they did this. But there's always room for you to say, hey, you know, am I doing a good job of just, you know, being around you? What do you need? Kids will tell you what they need from you. Oh, I just want you to come play with me, Daddy.
Right.
You may not want to go play tea party with them or go do whatever, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes it's the little stuff just checking in that helps you know how to better serve them, how to better meet their needs. So I think that's...
we have what we'll call family meetings in my house. And the floor is open. You can say whatever you want. There's no repercussion. Because a rule I've always told my kids is, you tell me the truth, I can't get mad at you. I may give you counsel if I think it's needed at that time, but I can't get mad at you. You don't get in trouble with nothing. And so we'll have family meetings, man, and the floor is yours, and speak your piece, you know, and let's come to a resolution on what's bothering you.
So,
you know,
please. My mind is racing right now. How did you come up with that? Because from our conversations, I don't feel like that is what I'm going to deem as conventional way of doing things. I feel like some people would call that radical. That's like outside of the box, right? I never had that growing up. Come sit down. Tell me how you're feeling. What are your grievances? Yeah, right.
I can't take full credit for it.
Okay.
My wife reads a lot of children's psychology.
Okay.
And she'll share it with me.
Okay.
And then I'll take, again, she and I'll discuss it. Mm-hmm. And then one day we both came to the decision, it's like, we should have family meetings, man. And if something's bothering these kids, let them know. Hey, family meeting, speak your mind. Speak your mind, And Josh, at the end, it always ends up, they may not always get the answers they want, but deep down, I can tell they feel at ease. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want. I want them to know, again, safe haven, man, speak your piece. What is bothering you? I remember when Connor, and I'll share this with you, and it's deeply personal, when he's like, Dad, I think I need therapy. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he was able to come and say that to me, I was blown away. I was in tears, man. Yeah. Just one, because I felt as I failed him, but then on the flip side, I know I didn't.
Right.
Because he knew he could come and talk to me about that, And because I just want them to know, again, I keep saying it, that this is a safe space for you can tell me anything and I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to try and see how best I can help you. Mm-hmm. What can I do on my part to help you? Mm-hmm. And so he went into therapy. He still is. He still checks in with his doctor, not as much because his doctor's like, things are going great. Let's just try and check in once a month, especially now that he's going off to college, make sure everything is going well for him. And I'm not saying this to pat myself on the back. It's a psychiatrist would be like, you and your wife, Mr. Grant, have done an amazing job. Mm-hmm. Just for the fact that he is so well-spoken and is able to express his feelings so openly. Yeah. And he's like, and that's not him, that's from you guys. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I just do what I think I'm supposed to be doing. That's it.
So I love it. And I'm glad to hear that. And thank you for sharing that. The transparency, just the vulnerability to share that. I sincerely appreciate that. Because when you said, I got so excited when you said we have these discussions, these meetings, these family meetings, because what I think, although you said the kids may not always get the answers they're looking for, I think it serves a much greater purpose, because what I've discovered just in my life is that the people I've come into contact with tend to want three things. They want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want to be understood. Yeah. And I think what you've expressed to me seems that these meetings provide that space to be seen, to be heard, to be understood. And when that happens, it doesn't mean that everything works out exactly the way that I want it to. It doesn't mean that, my mom or my dad gives me the answer that I'm looking for every single time. But what it does demonstrate to me is that, hey, my thoughts, my feelings are valuable, that they value me, that they want to hear me, that I have a safe place to express this. And like I said, I think obviously it's had a great impact. And, I think that it's great to hear that. And I'm curious if you want to dive into this. If you don't, I'm fine with that as well. But in the Black community, there is such a stigma associated with mental health. And I've heard you mention that a few times in terms of just making sure, like, hey, man, your children, checking in with them to make sure, like, hey, man, the provision is not just on material things and the basic essential needs, but, hey, I need to check in mentally with you. I need to check in spiritually with you. I have to check in multiple different ways. Yep. And I can't limit it to one type of way to check in. And so with that, how did you, in terms of making sure, like, what's going on in their head is good, how did you get there? and feel like that? Was that something that was collaborative with your wife as well, or?
It's a mixture of collaboration with my wife, but I'm not ashamed to say, Josh, I used to go to a therapist.
Okay.
Because I would have all these thoughts going through my head, like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Am I doing this right? I can remember days I'd be going to work, Josh, and have to pull my car over because I'm having panic attacks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know? And I'm like, what the heck is going on with me? I mean, like, literally, I'm like squeezing the steering wheel, and I'm like, just breathe, dude, just breathe, just breathe. Pull the car over. And I realized that I was putting too much pressure on myself.
Okay.
But as a nurturing person, I realized that the person I wasn't taking care of mentally was me.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You know?
I get that.
I'm taking care of everybody, but I'm not taking care of me mentally. And so through years of therapy, I realized you also need to hit that reset button sometimes and be like, okay, breathe. You can't fix the world.
Okay.
You cannot. Sometimes the only person you can fix is yourself. So make sure that you are doing a good enough job on yourself so that you can impart knowledge, impart wisdom, and just be there for those people that need you the most. Because you can't fix the world. I can't fix my kids' problems. There's certain things that's going on with them. There's nothing I can do about it except be there for them. There's nothing. I can't buy it. I can't say, well, listen to this, because they're kids, man. They're going to have their own thoughts. And so the only thing I can do is just be there sometimes. Sometimes that's all I do is just be there and let them know. Like, my daughter will have issues with her friends, and all I'll do, Josh, sometimes just sit there with her. I don't even say a word. Like, I'll just sit there.
Just the presence.
Yeah. And she'll sit there next to me, and I'll tell her, like, if you want to go to your room, she's like, no, I'm good right here, Dad. And she'll sit there for hours. You know?
I think that is really powerful. And you touched on something, and I asked this question, and of course, everybody has their own opinion and way of looking at it. And, I'm not a parent. However, I have dealt with a lot of parents and talked to a lot of parents, and so
I'll stop you there because you said you're not a parent. Josh, you've probably impacted so many people's lives without knowing it. Because we have a lot of fathers and we have a lot of mothers.
Okay.
We don't have a lot of parents.
Okay.
And by you being there for so many people through the years, Josh, you have probably more parental influence on them than their mother or their father could or will ever be. I'm telling you that straight facts.
Wendell, I sincerely appreciate that. I receive that. I take that. I do. I've felt like that for years, but there were so many people when I tried to share things, especially but when I was younger, because I started working with kids at a very, 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 very early age, maybe like 14, and so I've seen thousands and thousands of kids over the years in the line of work that I was doing, and so. I asked the question because I recently came to this realization. I don't say conclusion, but I came to the realization because there may be more to add to this. But you hit the nail on the head and you said, you working on you.
Yep.
You making sure that you're good, right? And I asked the question, like, is parenting more about the kids, or is it more about you growing as an adult, as the parent, as an individual? Is it more about that, or is it more about the kids? And it's an interesting question to ask. And jump in and correct me, but here's how I see it, right? I think it's more about you as the individual, because as you grow, what you're able to impart to the kids is going to grow too. You're going to expand in your ability to adjust and meet them at the point of their need in any given situation, to the best of your ability, it's going to continue to grow and it's going to continue to expand. But that starts with you prioritizing growth and development and maturity, and not thinking that, the parent I was at day one, I need to still be that same person
No,
at year 18. There's no way that makes any sense.
That relationship is supposed to grow and change just as that child is growing and changing. You can't say, to your point, how I handled something when he was 5, I'm going to do the same thing of when he's 18.
Yeah.
Because I see how that works. I'll use my own mother, for example. Sometimes my wife is like, why does your mom act a certain way like that or respond? I was like, because in her head, I'm still 10 years old.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's the only way she knows how to deal with any situation. In her mind, I'm 58 years old. I honestly believe my mom thinks I'm 10. Not that she has dementia or Alzheimer's. No, but that she's never matured with me parentally.
Right.
So
it's funny you say that. It's funny you say that because I've been working on helping my mom understand that. And so my mom is of the mindset, her expression is this: you're my kid. You're always going to be my child. You're always going to be this. And I said, I am your offspring. I'll always be your son, but I'm not a child. I haven't been a child for a long time.
Right.
I'm not your kid. And when I say that, what do you mean? You're not my child. No, I'm not your baby. I'm not your this. I'm not. I'm a grown man. And I need you to understand that. And she gets pissed when I say that, but I say that because I think that oftentimes with parents, there's always this dynamic of, I'm up here as the adult and you're the kid. And it never gets to a place where you see the shift is like, okay, you're an adult now too. And now we're on the same playing field, right? I'm an adult, you're an adult. There's still a level of respect and things like that from the nature of the relationship. But it's not one of those things where you're dealing with a child anymore. And so I think a lot of parents, they miss that. I don't know how to help them understand that, but it can definitely be a challenge and cripple relationships.
It will always be a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also on the flip side, Josh, some parents, the parental kid dynamic will always, it's always changing. It should never just stay the same. Well, you're my child, I'm the dad. That's it. That's our relationship. That respect will always be there, but also, and I know some parents will disagree with me, you have to give your kids respect. So you can't just say, well, I'm the parent, so do as I say. That works but so long. That works but for so long. Because you know what? And this is for any individual. If I really want to do something, Josh, I can do it. You just won't know about it.
That's it.
And just because you're my parent and you say, hey, don't go do drugs because, I'll kick your ass if you do that. Don't smoke weed. Don't do this. I could say that all day long to my kids, but if they wanted to, how the hell am I going to know?
Right. That's a fact.
So the only thing I can do is impart as much knowledge as I can. And hope that when they will have to make that choice, that they make the right choices.
So,
because I can't make that choice for them.
In my experience working with kids, Wendell, I had to learn that. And that was a tough lesson for me to learn because that's the way that I was parented. And I think a lot of men that I've spoken to over the years, while I'm not professionally a therapist, I do feel like I operate in a counseling role when people sit in this chair.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
A lot of men have expressed this, I don't even know if it's just a sternness, if it's a pride, it's just like, my son's going to do this, or my daughter's going to do this, my people are going to do this, and they're going to, you wielding this iron fist type thing. And it becomes one of those situations where that, to me, is born out of a lack of respect for the kid, the child.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I think that there has to be a mutual level of respect. And like I said, I remember, working with kids early on in my child care career. And one of my buddies I was talking to a kid, and he came over afterwards. He was like, dude, man, like, why you talking to him like that, man? You got to show him some respect, man. And I'm like, respect? Like, that's a kid. You know what I mean? Almost as a kid doesn't deserve respect. And that was literally what I had learned in my dealing. So as a kid, you don't even get the respect of having an answer or an explanation for something or understanding why, and I was the kid that always wanted to know why. I was the kid that always looked to try to make associations and connections with things so that I could better understand things. And I think that what you're saying in terms of understanding that, I think you're, not to compare you to anybody, but I think you're miles ahead in your maturity and your approach in parenting than a lot of parents are, man. And some, like you said, some people would strongly disagree, but I don't think they're consciously parenting in that way where they're like, oh, I'm trying to disrespect my kid. But whether you're conscious of it or not, if you keep doing it and it's having a negative result or it's producing, a bad outcome, it needs to be changed.
Exactly.
And so you may need to become more aware of it so that, you're not, imparting some bullshit to your kids.
No, but think about it. What and I know you've heard this, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Right.
So as parents, okay, it's not working. And as people, we are curious by nature. So when a kid asks you why, he's not being disrespectful. Mm-hmm. He's just curious as to why. And a simple, because Connor, because Nelson, the reason I'm saying this is so that XYZ could happen if you don't do it this way. Mm-hmm. You run the risk of getting hurt because, if you don't follow the rules. How hard is that? And most times when you explain to a child and he gets it, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
And he'll share that with his friends, But just because I said so, what the hell does that mean? As an adult, if somebody, hey, man, I'm trying to go, nah, you can't do that. I can't remember the last time if somebody told me straight up no, that I said, okay. No, I want to know why. Why can't I? What's the reasoning behind that? And it's okay to question,
I'm happy to hear you say that as a parent. I'm even more happy to hear you say that as a father, because I think,
it's okay. It doesn't diminish my role in the household. It doesn't oh my gosh, my kids questioned me. He questioned what I said. Maybe I need to phrase it a different way so it makes sense. Maybe it's not making sense to him. How hard is that? Sometimes just rephrasing stuff and people are like, oh, I get it now. That's not disrespect. That's wanting to learn. So that's just me, man.
So I'll say that I learned the value of why, because, again, there was a lot that I began to understand about parenting just in my everyday interactions with kids and understanding how I was parented. Yeah. And, just taking some of those things and applying them and realizing like this doesn't work, and one of the biggest lessons that I always take, and I always share this with people, is the impact or the power of why for me happened coaching. Yeah. I was coaching some kids and we were out on the football field and this kid keeps doing the same thing over and over. And I keep saying the same thing over and over. And none of it's working. Right. I'm getting frustrated. He's frustrated. It's not working. And finally, something just dawned on me. It was like, okay, well, why don't you just, explain the why to him and show him and do this. And immediately, it was instantaneous. This kid gets it. And I never had any more problems. And it was like, oh, wow. So when you explain why, it eliminates some of the headache. Like,
oh my gosh, yeah, 100%, man, 100%. Because I know for me, I think I'm doing a good job as a father, as a parent, every day, Josh. I try to learn something new. Seriously, every day. I don't say, well, that's it. My son's going off to college. I did my job. I'm done. Let me move on to the next one. No, man. Every day I learn something different. Every day I screw up somehow. I could have said something different. And one thing about me, and my kids will tell you this, when I screw up, I'm quick to come to them and be like, yo, man, I totally messed up. I owe you an apology.
Wow.
I should not have handled it that way. I should not have said that way. That didn't make any sense. I'm playing that back in my head. And thank you for not calling me an idiot to my face. I seriously, as my kids, I apologize like that if I screw up. I have no problem. My pride will not take me down that road where I know I messed up, but I'm the father, so I cannot that's not weakness, that's strength.
Well, no, that's incredible. That's what that is. And I don't hear enough fathers express that, and I ask that, because I think being a father, being a parent, at least in today's world, is going to require a level of humility that a lot of people didn't grow up with, and so.
Oh, my father would never in a million years tell me he is sorry. Not in a million years. Hell no.
And how did that, and I always say, like, how did that make you feel? What did you think about that when that happened? And
I thought my dad was the biggest jerk that walked the face of the earth. I loved my father, did not like him. I'll be the first to admit it, because there was no, like you said, there was no humility. There was not that outward expression of love. Sometimes people do. We just need a hug. Growing up, the sign of weakness. All of that was a sign of weakness, man. I was not allowed to cry. I was not allowed to share my innermost feelings. Take that shit, push it down, and keep it there. You walk out the house, you have a big smile on your face, and everything is hunky-dory great inside this house, if anybody was to ever ask you. That's how I grew up. And I made sure that when I became a parent, that was 100% not going to happen, ever. So my kids have seen me cry. My kids have seen me angry. My kids have seen me in my weakest moments, and that's okay with me. So, like I asked Connor, and I'll cut you off. I asked Connor, I was like, like, especially as you're leaving, you're going to see me more and more sad, man. You're going to see me crying a lot. He's like, I hope so, Dad. I hope so.
Okay. I love it, man. I love it. That is so powerful, that you have allowed your kids to see you. Because I think so often our kids have this image of us, and I say us, they have this image and this idea of us, but they don't get to see you in totality.
No.
You know what I mean? And so you opening yourself up for them to see you on every level, I think frees them up and opens them up to be who they are and express the range of emotions and the way that they feel and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's so powerful, because I think that bonds you. I think that connects you in such a different way. And what I was going to say to add on to what you were saying is this. I don't want to say I commend you or I'm proud of you or anything like that, because I don't want that to come across.
Dude, I'm still a work in progress, man.
What I'll say is this. I think it's incredibly, and powerful is the word that keeps coming to my mind right now. But I think it's incredible that you decided to make a conscious decision about what parenting was going to be for you. And you didn't just say, hey, I'm going to take all of the conditioning that was imparted into me growing up through childhood, and I'm just going to rinse and repeat, and I'm just going to do, and I'm not going to, I'm not going to control where the car goes. I'm just going to let it go where it's going. You, through what it sounds like it's been a lot of work,
Yep.
and effort, have consciously decided what you want to believe about parenting, and you've let go of limiting ideas about parenting that, like, oh man, I have to always be right. I can't apologize to my kid. I can't respect my kid. And so to me, like I said, as I'm listening to you, this conversation is it's doing so much to me right now. I know that other people that hear this conversation are going to be inspired by this, because you don't have to do it the way your parents did. If your parents weren't effective with it, like, one, recognize that, take the awareness of that, and then choose how you want to parent, and know why you want it. Because everything I've asked you, you had an explanation. So it tells me that you actually spent some time thinking about it.
Of course.
And sometimes I get it, not every kid is planned, but you can have a plan on how you're going to raise your kids.
100%.
And I think people just wing it and hope that they get it right. And it's like, you would be better served if you at least started with an idea, or what the end goal is, and then, let's reverse engineer how I want to get to this end goal. And so I am beyond impressed with the way that you've, chosen to do this.
No, I think also, Josh, one is, as men, but especially as men of color, we have been conditioned to be a certain way. Mm-hmm. And society tells us that as a black man, you're supposed to be this big, tough guy and show no weakness. That's bullshit, man. And that's what's bringing us down. Because physically we're there, emotionally we're not there, mentally we're definitely not there. If we were to let society tell us how a man is supposed to be, how a black man is supposed to be, and I refuse to fall into that trap, and 1,000,000%, I will die before I let my kids fall into that trap.
Thank you, man. I sincerely appreciate you sharing your thoughts, your wisdom, your knowledge, and your experience. Like I said, I know that somebody's going to listen to this, and they're going to come in here and they're going to be like, hey man, who was that guy, man?
Tell them don't talk anymore.
Here's the question.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is something that I feel like, I'm going to need some help trying to pull off, but I think that it's going to be valuable. I think it'll be a valuable asset and tool, a resource to be able to do it. And you're somebody that popped in my head right now. And so I'm just throwing ideas out here. Let me ask this question before I ask you what I want to ask you.
Sure.
Along the way, have you had any parenting mentors, or fathers that drop knowledge on you that helped you establish this? Or was this some through your own experience?
This is from my own experiences, Josh. Wow. Okay. And just looking at I pay close attention to what people do and what they say, and also look at not just verbal but also nonverbal communication.
Okay.
So I don't know. So I use that same technique with my kids. They may say no, but I'm watching their body language and I'm reading that and be like, no, that's not working. Mm-hmm. And so it's always, my thing is open communication. And for me, it's always been that, man. Like, honestly, and I know we said this a lot of times, I made sure to do the work, to read up on stuff, to, like I said, check in, go to a therapist, because I still harbor some of those feelings as a child from not feeling that bond with my parents, So I want to make sure that I break that chain, that nonsense stopped with me and will not move on, and start a whole new chain with my kids, so that when they have their kids, it's even a stronger bond, that they have a bigger chain, better chain, so the nonsense stopped with me and I refuse to let it move on.
I'm telling you, man, this is probably one of the most powerful conversations I've had. Would you be open to mentoring some younger fathers? just an idea, just something to think about, because I think that you've expressed some amazing ideas and philosophies and approaches to parenting and just fatherhood. And I know that just in these conversations over the last couple of weeks with all these different men, that's something that some of the younger fathers have expressed. Like, man, I don't even have anybody I could go to. I don't even have this. And I know sometimes you can feel like, man, I don't have it all together. I don't have this. But
and that's okay.
It is. And so
that's
you're
okay.
in a different season. You're further along, and that's all it requires, is that you're a little bit further along than the people that you're helping, and who's more qualified to help than somebody who's been there in that position where you didn't know. But I think, what I take away, one of the biggest takeaways for me in terms of everything that you shared here today, is just that you took a very intentional and purposeful, like I said, it's just a conscious approach to what you want parenting to look like. And you didn't just allow it to be like, oh, this default, like, okay, status quo says I'm supposed to do this, this, and this. You were very intentional and it's going
to look different for everybody, but there are certain foundational things that should be there for everyone, man. Letting your kid know that they're loved. I do still believe, and some people may disagree with me, that spiritual background is needed, man. You need that. It can't just be about you. I do think that once you have the right foundation, you can build that house any way you want. But that foundation has to be the same for every house. You have to have that proper foundation. And once you have that, build your house any way which you can, man. It will not topple. It will not crumble, man, as long as you have the right foundation. You make it any design you want, but make sure that foundation is strong.
Wendell, I'm just going to thank you again. If you have any final thoughts, any words of wisdom and encouragement that you would like to give to young fathers or men that, may be struggling with connecting with their kids, or,
I think one of the biggest things I'll always say is be present, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to show weakness, because showing weakness is a sign of strength, but be present in your kids' lives. And physically, emotionally, especially mentally, man.
Okay.
And if you don't know where to go, seek help. It's okay to ask for help. I did. I recommend it to anybody. If you don't know the answers and you said, you know what, man, this is still confusing to me, find somebody. I think everybody needs a mentor somehow in their lives. Everybody can benefit with a mentor. And a mentor can take so many different shapes, man, and be willing to listen. Know that if somebody is trying to impart knowledge, do not put up your defensive wall and take it personally. Just listen and take it in and say, you know what? That makes sense. I can use that, And I don't know, man. I think for me, it's just always be a work in progress. Be willing to listen and be willing to grow. Don't stop growing. Don't ever stop growing, because everybody has something of value to share with somebody else. And I'll leave you with that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I sincerely appreciate you for this. This is, like I said, this is grand slam. Like, you crushed it, man. Thank you so much.